Peg and Des on
Sons of Anarchy.
All right, we have a ton to talk about. Sons of Anarchy, again, an hour and a half. What's going on? I don't have time for this. But before we dive in, let's remind you guys to please subscribe to our channel and remember to rate our videos. Tell us if you like it.
Yes.
And leave us some comments.
Absolutely. Let's dive in. This week, we learned that the school shooting is connected to the MC.
Right. I mean, we saw that weird little kid last week, but I guess I should have seen this coming. I should have thought the weird little kid was some sort of representation of Jax. I didn't necessarily see that the gun was going to tie back to the MC, but of course that makes sense.
Well, when we saw Nero's cousin go into the boy's house, I knew that there was going to be some connection to bring things back around to Jax and the crew. However, we learned that connection is strong with the gun, and the marshal is offering all kinds of wonderful information about the gun, its whereabouts, and who produces them.
That marshal, he has more access than anybody I've ever. I'm like, the marshal's everywhere. He's all up and through the prison.
Yes.
He strolls up to a crime scene and he's all up in there. I'm like, what? This is like ridiculous with the marshal already.
Let's not forget when he was that lady who was in the Oprah wig, the DA.
I think she's the DA.
He was able to walk up on the DA not once, but twice. Remember one time he walked up on her at the courthouse, met her on the steps. So the marshal is everywhere and he's busy.
Yeah, he's very, very busy. Yeah, we'll talk more about the marshal later because he orchestrates Gemma and Clay getting back together.
Absolutely.
Too. He's involved with that. But before we get there, I want to talk about Nero and his cousin. So, I mean, the scene where the, girlfriend basically goes nuts, decides they're going to kill her. And I don't actually think they were going to kill her. I think that they were going to.
Wait, are you talking about her home, or are you talking about at the cabin?
At the cabin, at Piney's cabin. First of all, I don't know why they take someone there and don't get rid of the loaded guns. That was a bad idea.
I don't think that anybody was even thinking about those guns on the wall. Were just like the moose heads on the wall. Nobody was paying attention to them. The woman who is high is all get out, notices them, and then she unloads. What was interesting is I felt like Jax was ready to kill her from jump. And he made a comment about her in the house. He said there's nothing worse than a rat, but a junkie rat.
Yeah.
Right, so she's going to be a problem. And he wants to get rid of his problems fair and square.
But I sort of thought, even still, she was safe, but she wilded out. And then Nero had no choice. Dave Navarro, by the way, nice acting job, had no choice but to go with her and get himself killed for it.
Right. Well, he did have a choice because Nero said to him multiple times, don't go. I mean, they were shouting at him and he ran with her still and Nero shot him. I was surprised that Nero killed his cousin. I thought that Nero would maybe shoot his cousin in the leg, the arm, do something to keep him from getting in the vehicle. I didn't anticipate that he would kill him. But Nero later says, he crossed me.
Yeah, I mean, he has a crew. The crew already had lost respect for Nero. Remember, like last season, there was like a little bit of an intimation that they were like, oh, you lost your edge, you're not hard anymore. And then he's like, oh, that's what you think. So I think he has tenuous hold on his crew.
I see.
And even if it's his cousin, if you let him kind of go wild,
right,
that would open that door back up. And so unfortunately he had to kill the cousin. He was really sad about it. But I still did not see Jax ordering the girlfriend's death coming.
I saw it. I felt like the only reason why that woman even made it to that cabin in the first place is because of Nero. If Jax had been left to his own devices to go over to that woman's house alone, she would have died in that living room. But I think that was Jax going along. But once she misbehaved like that, then it was for sure, I'm going to do what I need to do.
Well, it was nice of them to let Juicy shoot her up first. I thought that was very sweet.
Also, so she wouldn't fight as much.
Yeah.
That's really what that was about.
All right, well, let me think Jax is kind.
There's no need. There's no need. That's how you get yourself put out there.
Yeah, you're right.
You need to stay on guard like the Night's Watchman.
Well, what about when Nero says to Jax, did you order that?
Not at all.
And Jax sincerely looks him in the eye and says no. And Nero's like, oh, please don't lie to me. Please do not lie to me.
I do not believe that Nero believes what Jax has to say.
No.
And there represents a breakdown of trust. I've always thought that their relationship was kind of weird because the two of them were introduced to each other last season. And it was almost like they developed instant trust between the two of them. They started building businesses together, doing illegal activities together, but neither really knowing a whole lot about the other than just what's out there for reputation. So the fact that they were able to get that trust, it seemed like last night that trust buckled.
I think the thing is that Jax is he's just losing it. I mean, let's talk about Tara.
Yes.
Talk about broken trust.
Yes.
That is a relationship that went from one of the most loving relationships I thought on television to just a bevy of lies.
It was like a Bonnie and Clyde, the two of them.
Yeah.
And Bonnie is no more. Bonnie is writing things down on yellow notepads.
I was so hopeful when he came to pick her up from prison. And yes, they didn't speak to each other, but she, grabbed his lapels, she got on the back of the bike, she gave a little smile. And I was like, all right, they're going to get back together.
Girl, you were reading way too much into that.
No.
Tara was looking for a ride home. And when she got there, she had her notepads in her pocket. I thought that conversation with her attorney at the table was so crazy because it let us know what Tara's really thinking. Last week, we weren't quite sure, why does Tara not want to visit with Jax? What's going on? Yeah. But now we know. She wants to ensure that Jax does not have custody of those children. She doesn't want him to go to jail because the attorney says, you didn't write anything down that would implicate him criminally, but we want to make sure he doesn't get these kids.
I think she still loves him. It's just, I don't think love's enough anymore. It's just too much. Jax is a dangerous person to be around. Bad things happen when Jax is around, whether he means them to or not. Look at poor Opie.
Right.
Died on behalf of Jax. Clay in jail because of Jax. I mean, granted, Clay deserves it.
Right.
But I think that even when Wendy said to her last season, how can you let your children be around this?
Right.
With good conscience. I think that Tara, that it hit her, but going to prison on behalf of doing something for Jax,
it turned her.
That was the last straw for her.
And she also lost her opportunity in Oregon. Remember, that was supposed to be her family's next move. It's time to get on out, get away from Charming, and they rescinded their offer. Can't have the doctor in jail.
And also, now Jax is saying, I can't ever leave Charming.
Right.
It means that Opie's death was for naught.
Right.
So I can't leave at all. So there's no hope now.
None whatsoever. And I think that Tara knows in her heart that she is going to go to jail, which is why she's setting up all these custody arrangements, making sure that Wendy gets the kids. It's almost like she's getting her affairs in order.
Yeah. And now she might be pregnant. Oh, no.
I was wondering, what is that about? How long have you been in prison? She's only been in prison just a couple days, right?
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Yeah,
so the timing could work out. Well, speaking of pregnancy and things that people do to get pregnant, the sex between she and Jack was difficult to watch.
It was heartbreaking. It was so sad. It was so disconnected.
Yes.
She's crying through it. He's not really paying attention to that.
Her eyes were so open. I mean, I told you this when we talked earlier, but there are a couple of occasions where she hugs him during the episode. And in each occasion, the camera shows her eyes open and his eyes closed. And whenever I see that, I feel like there is a disconnect between the two people. Both people are not entrenched in the hug. And the sex was the same way.
Yeah.
Both people they're physically there, but they are not emotionally there.
I mean, she's lying to him. He comes home and he says, anything happened? And she's like, no. And she says to him, anything happened? And he says, no. They're not in sync at all.
No, they're not. So let's talk quickly about Gemma and Clay.
Yes.
So Clay says, I need to speak with Gemma. Marshall arranges it. Gemma shows up. And Sonnet 116.
Yeah, so I looked up the little poem that Marshall was reciting, and I realized it's Sonnet 116, which is the sonnet that they usually, the Shakespeare sonnet they usually read in marriages, or weddings, I should say. So I think it's something like, love is not love, that bends with the remover to remove, or something like that. I can't remember it right now.
I'm gonna need you to write that poem down. That's what I need you to do.
Basically, the gist is, if your love is conditional, able to be broken by any circumstance, it wasn't love. And if it isn't able to be broken, that is true love. And I truly think that there is true love between Gemma and Clay. Now, I know you didn't buy the apology, but I bought the love. I do believe Clay loves Gemma, and I believe Gemma still loves Clay. I like that she called herself a stupid bitch in the mirror afterwards.
Because she felt herself falling back in.
Yeah.
I do believe that the love is there. I do not believe in the authenticity of the apology. I do believe that Clay has other motives, and I felt like Gemma in that moment. Do not believe him. Do not believe him. That's what I kept saying to myself, because I wanted to believe him. His delivery was excellent, but I wanted to, but I just can't, because I think he is diabolical.
I do think he's a G, though, because he's playing that Marshall. Marshall has had a lot of control over a lot of people.
Yes.
But he's playing that. He's running that Marshall.
Clay was like, you better get some more days. Opened his book back up. So let's talk about the crew very quickly before we wrap up.
Yeah.
Juicy is falling apart.
Oh, my God. Poor Juicy. It has been seasons now, but he might be at the end of his rope.
Juicy is done.
Yeah.
Smothering that woman, and then we learn after he smothers her that she has 2 more children.
Oh!
You know, stab, stab, stab.
Oh.
Chibs seems like he's a dissident.
I know. I mean, he was like Jax's right-hand man, but now he's looking at Jax like, I don't think you know what you're doing.
Chibs has shade for days when the camera catches him.
Yes.
So, and keep in mind, he's the VP, so I'm wondering if there's going to be a power play at some point in the near future.
Well, Jax is still trying to get out of this gun deal with the Irish. I think that the Irish are like, haha, I don't think so.
The Irish represent the true gangsters of the story.
Right.
He said, I'll go back to the 3 kings.
And you're going to double my business. Thank you very much.
Absolutely.
And when Jax says, look, we're not putting those guns out, I don't care what that Irishman said, Chips is like, is that really a good idea, sir?
Exactly.
And Traeger's the only one that's even in his corner anymore.
Which is not good, because he's supposed to get killed.
Right.
So the crew is falling apart, and Bobby actually looks like he might be winning. He needs one more member for the 4 Nomad clique. And I was wondering, maybe Chips?
Maybe Juicy. Somebody's going to get picked up.
But that was last night's episode. It was a strong episode. I'm looking forward to next week. I don't know if we'll get another 90-minute movie. We'll see. We shall see. But make sure to check out the other videos on this channel.
Right. And remember, subscribe and give us a thumbs up.
Absolutely. Goodbye.
Bye.